Making deals can be tough. I learned at a young age that you have to deal with the boss. It's very simple. Deal with the boss wherever possible. Once you make a deal with someone, it's really important to carry it through. You start developing the wrong reputation, it makes it impossible to make future deals. You've always got to stand up for yourself. You just have to fight for yourself because basically nobody else is going to fight for you. Many times you hear the expression that God is in the details. When people come in to buy something, especially very rich people, they see details. If something's wrong, they see it, and it reflects in the price. Never beg when you're trying to sell something. If it doesn't work out, take your lumps and relax. But you'll never sell through the begging route. Thinking outside of the box is something that is very much of a cliche, but if you really want to be successful, that's how you're going to have to do it. It's always been easier for me to think big. It was always easier for me to attract the money and the capital than it would be if I did a small job someplace that nobody cared about and nobody wanted to finance. You cannot be successful without passion. If you don't love what you're doing, if you don't have passion for it, forget it. Do something else. You'll be much more successful, and you'll lead a lot happier life.
If you can get an extra 2 or 3 minutes out of someone when you're sitting face to face with them because you're likable, that's important.
The greatest thing that can happen to a businessman or woman is to surround yourself with talented people who also happen to be loyal. You never know what makes a loyal person. And guess what? If they're not loyal to you one time, don't give them a second chance because they won't be loyal to you the next time. The word leadership is always hard to define because you see so many different people that are so different and they're great leaders. Hello, everybody. But the quality of a great leader that I've seen that's common to all is respect. There's nothing like real estate. It beats paper stock certificates, and I think it's a great market. People have to respect you or you cannot be a leader. Contractors are a whole separate breed. They're tough. They're smart. They didn't go to Harvard or Wharton mostly, but you know what? They're just as smart as anybody that went there. You have to know how to deal with contractors, and you have to be tough because they will pick your pockets and you won't even know what happened. Positive attitude is all about self-confidence, and self-confidence is the whole ballgame. If you don't have a positive attitude in business or in life, you'll never, ever be successful. You know, the worst employee is a good employee. A bad employee is fine because you fire that person right away. A great employee is phenomenal. You want to keep them and cherish them. They're fantastic. But a good employee, you never sort of fire them, but they never lead you to the next level. They just keep their job. They're sort of too good to be fired, but they're not good enough. You're never going to do great. So I always say the worst employee isn't a bad employee. It's just a good or average employee. Negotiation is a very, very delicate art. Sometimes you have to be tough. Sometimes you have to be as sweet as pie. You never know. It depends on who you're dealing with. I've always said that negotiation is not really learned. It's almost innate. It's in the genes. A negotiator is born. Sometimes in life to be successful, oftentimes, most of the time, you have to follow your instincts. You have to follow your gut. You have to. Your parents may say wrong, your whoever may say wrong, but you have to do it. To be a winner, you have to think like a winner. If you don't think like a winner, it's just never going to happen. My father was a worker, and he loved to work. He'd work on Saturdays, he'd work on Sundays. He just liked it. He'd go to church, but after church, he'd go and work. He'd go check a building that he was putting up in Brooklyn. You know, he was mostly in Brooklyn and Queens. And he just loved it. And I think more than anything else, not because of what he taught me lots of different things, but I watched him be a happy man and work until he was like literally 93. He was 93 years old when he died. And I said to myself, that's a pretty good formula, because I have a lot of friends, they take vacations for 6 weeks and 8 weeks and 3 months, and they're never happy. So I watched my father, so I like to work. I've always felt location is important, but the people behind the deal are much more important than location. I'd much rather have a really smart, talented guy doing a deal in a not-so-good location than an idiot doing a deal in a great location, because you'll make money every time. It's a little bit like watch somebody sell their used car and not wash it. You can spend $10 washing the car and get another $200 for the car. And I've seen guys, they're selling cars that are dirty. And I say, that guy is a loser. The marketplace is totally brilliant. If you price something a little bit high, all of a sudden, they don't buy. If you price it a little bit low, the marketplace just comes and eats it alive. You have to find the right price. And if you don't, big trouble.
Never, ever give up. You can change and you can move around, but never, ever give up. I know people that are very smart. They went to the Wharton School of Finance with me. I know other people that aren't as smart, and those people are the top people in industry today, and they just were tougher. They didn't give up.
A lot of that is all in the details. You've got to be into the details, because if you're not, they'll come back to haunt you. So oftentimes, life is in the details. Well, business also is in the details. You have to be very careful. You have to watch the dotted I's, because you can really lose tremendously if you don't watch those details. So we discussed that, and as Robert likes to say, probably more than I do, that's the little finger, but it's all about the details. It's very important.
When I had troubles in the early 90s, a major article came out, and it said very strongly, everything he touches turns to gold. And I believed him. So I'd go out with models at night instead of working. But that wasn't good. And I remember I had a big lease coming up, and there was a big show, and I went to the show. I said, don't worry, fellas, you can handle the lease. You'll get it done. Well, I came back, they didn't get it done, and I would have had it done 100%. And then the market crashed in the 90s. So I had trouble, but it was sort of an amazing, I wouldn't want to do it again. It was an amazing test of yourself. Can you handle pressure? How are you under pressure? Are you smart? When everybody's coming at you. Gary Player, the great golfer, he had a great statement, but he'd go, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And he wins the U.S. Open. You have all these big, handsome guys, these big, giant guys, and they're hitting the ball a mile. And you have Gary Player. And Gary Player would win the Open. He'd win the Masters. He'd win this. He'd win that. And he said, hey, in the U.S. Open, he hit a 5-iron to 1 foot from the hole, and he ended up getting a birdie and wins the U.S. Open, right? And he came off the green. Now, I know I've heard the statement before, but I heard it from him in a meaningful way. They said, what do you think, Gary? What is it? He said, all I know is I've been working very hard, and the harder I work, the luckier I get. I thought it was an amazing statement.